Today we're gonna create a little application that opens two windows in Android. Um, this is similar to the video that we have for the same thing in iOS. Now we don't have storyboards nor anything to like link windows with arrows or control clicks nor anything like that. Everything has to be done by hand in Android, but it's also very easy. There are clear analogies. So for example, an arrow that goes from a button to a screen, that opens a screen, that transition, that's called an intent. Intents are what tell Android which window is the originating window, the originating screen, and which is going to be the destination screen of a message with like open up, right? So we're going to use intents. We are also going to use layouts for the different layouts, so we have to create each screen individually. This used to be the way in iOS. Perhaps Eclipse will catch up with storyboards now, but so far you have to create windows one by one, and you have to link windows one by one via intents. Okay, so we're going to try some of that, and then we're going to put some cool items in one of those windows. So first we start by creating a new project in Eclipse. Right click in the project area and go to Other, and then here you select an Android project. That's what we're going to create, and we're going to call it two screens. Okay, and then we click Next. It's going to be for the latest Android. That's fine. I click Next, and we have a package here, two screens, and we're going to create, the main activity is going to be the two screens activity. That's going to be our main window. Remember, activity are controllers for those views that are the different screens. So two screens activity is the controller for my main view, my main screen in the Android application. Finish. So the structure that we get off the bat is we get a source folder with the source code. It's the Java package, and then here's the activity, the Java class, okay, which has it's overridden the main method of the toString. So let me back up. ToStrings activity extends activity. That's the controller, okay, base class, and we overload the onCreate. We override the onCreate method. So what we do is we go super onCreate, and then whatever, we just call the onCreate the superclass, so all the memory management is done correctly. And then we just say set the content view to the main layout. Okay? R, remember, is all of our resources that we create outside of Java will be referenced from Java through the R class, right? So we're going to open the main layout. This associates a layout with this controller. That's how we associate layouts with controllers. Now, in the RES folder, that's where our resources are, we see that under layouts, there's a main layout. And if we double click, we'll get a little view of what this layout looks like, or would look like in the screen, right? So this is the layout. Okay. To this layout, we're going to add two buttons, which are the buttons that are going to open the other windows. So let's add the buttons. Now, if we add the buttons here, just by dragging and dropping, one button there, and then another button here, okay, what's going to happen is that they're going to be stacked because they are under a paradigm called linear layout. So if I just want to place them randomly anywhere in the screen, I need another kind of layout, probably a relative layout. So let me delete these buttons right now. First, I'm going to create a relative layout in this area. Okay, so layouts, relative layout. I'm just going to put it there. So this became a relative layout, and then what I can do is make this relative layout go all the way, use all the remaining space in the screen. I'll just keep this in case I want to display messages. I'll display them there, and this is going to be the title of my app. But this is my relative layout. Now, in my relative layout, if I go back to Form Widgets, I can place a button here, for example. Okay, and I can place a button over here. Let's line this there. Okay. So these buttons are going to open two screens. So let's say this first button, I'm going to change its name. I can do this by right-clicking and then going to edit text, ID, and style. So let's edit the text. Now the text, it's asking me for system resources. So I don't have a string that, I don't have a text for this. I have to go create a new string. Okay. And you can create all strings beforehand. That's much more practical, but you can also do it like this. So the string is going to be yearbook, okay, and oops, sorry. The new string, I'm sorry, it's going to be, this is, and then the new string is going to be yearbook. That's the name of the string, okay, yearbook. And it's going to say yearbook. Beautiful, okay. So I'll just say okay. So now I have the string yearbook. I selected, remember we're selecting what's going to show up in the button. I'm also going to change the ID of this button. And instead of calling it button 1, I'm going to call it yearbook button. Okay? So I can do that. This one went out of place. Sometimes that happens. I just need to go put it back up. Now this button, the second button, I'm going to change using the XML. Okay, so I'm just going to go to main XML. And then you see there's my yearbook button, and then there's my button 2, which I'm going to change it to, I don't know, location button. We'll see what. We're going to do some location stuff with it later in a different video, but so you'll see it. And then the text for that is going to be button. You can use a string from the ones that we created, or you can actually put something here. The XML is more flexible that way, so it'll say, you know, location. Okay, so you can make it do whatever it is that you want to do. We save this. We go to graphical layout, and we have this application that says location and yearbook. Okay, we can change the fonts in the buttons. So if we right-click on a button, oops, if we right-click on the button, then we can say layout width, height, other properties, okay, and then you say inherited from view, and there's a whole bunch of properties over here. Inherited from text view, and then there's a lot of other properties that you cannot even see on screen, okay? You can explore those. Okay, so I have my two buttons. Now I need a screen that's going to have the yearbook, okay? So for that I'm going to go to the layout folder. I'm going to right-click there. I'm going to create a new other, and then it's going to be an Android XML layout file. Okay, and what am I going to call it? Yearbook layout. Okay, and will it have a linear layout? Sure, let's do that. Let's have a linear layout. That's fine. So then finish. Now my two screens have a linear layout, and what I'm going to have here is I'm going to put a date picker, so you can pick a date, and then a browser. So whenever you pick a date, whatever date you pick, the browser is going to browse whatever happened that day in the past, okay? Or perhaps a Google page for that date, something like that, okay? It's going to do something with that date. So I go to time and date. I'll grab the date picker and I'll put it up here, okay? I'll just drag it, and computer's very slow. No, that is not a date picker. Do a time picker. That is not the time picker that I want. Why is it that I don't have the correct? Okay, let's put date picker here. Perhaps there's an attribute that's going to help me out. Calendar view show false. Okay. There you go. I got rid of the calendar just browsing through properties. You couldn't see it on the screen. I'm going to go spinner shown true, and then because this is a new date picker. I think that's what's going on here. There's a date picker from Android 2.3, and this apparently is date picker from Android 4. So let's see, calendar view shown. That's false. End of the year layout. So spin is shown. True. Let me see, view group. I think that's where I'm gonna go. That's it. Okay. And I will center this. So layout width, wrap content, match parent. There we go. I'm gonna go up a little bit there. Fine. And then what I'm going to do is, this is my date picker now. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. What I'm gonna use, oh no, not that big, not that big. I don't want to extend the parent. That's the graphical thing here is a little, you know, a little iffy. You can go to the yearbook layout, and I'm gonna match parent with the width, but with the height, it's not gonna be. Yeah, 89 dp sounds good. Let's put 50 dp or 100 dp. Perhaps that'll help it. And no. Weight 0.21. But okay. All right, there's the date picker. Now I'm going to put a web view over here, so we have a web browser that can browse stuff. Okay. So let's see, images and media, perhaps. No. Composite web view. Okay. So you just drag a web view over here, and that's our web view. And we're all set up. Okay, now I'm going to change the ID here, just so I can reference it later. So I go right click, edit ID, and this web view 1 is fine. The date picker's ID, it's going to be date picker 1, that's fine. So these are important because we'll be able to reference them like that. So we have our window. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to link the window. So when we click the button, we go to the main layout. When we click the yearbook, this yearbook layout is open. Okay, and we'll do it like this. Now we go to the Java classes here, to strings activity. We're going to create as private member variables here a button. Okay, we're going to create the one button. So private button. And that's going to be an Android button. Okay, so it's there. Private button, yearbook button. Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. Now, so we're creating a placeholder for a button. Now we need to connect that button with the button in the actual layout. So what we do is we create. We say yearbook button equals, and then we use the method find by ID. Find by ID r.layout, okay, r.id dot, and then what is our button that we want? We want the yearbook button. Everything that's under ID is going to be there. Yearbook button, okay. And the find by ID actually returns a view. So we need to cast that view as a button. All objects, all widgets in Android inherit from view. So find view by ID, by the way. Find view by ID, and then that's going to return a view. We are going to and we're going to cast it as a button. Now with that button, okay, one thing that we can do. This is something that I tend to do, but you don't have to do it like this. Is I'll create listeners separately for each thing. So I'm going to create an on-click listener. Okay, it's going to be a private inner class, and this is going to be yearbook listener. Okay, we'll implement view dot on oops, view dot view. Oops, that's something wrong. That's easy to fix. Yearbook button. Set and click listener. New view.onClick listener. Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's why implements. View.onClick listener. There you go. I'm going to erase this. Sorry about this mess. I just need to find out the proper name for this. Okay, so I'm implementing a yearbook listener, which implements a view on click listener. Okay, now because I'm implementing the interface view on click listener, I need to actually generate a couple methods here. Okay, so I just hover over here and set, and then click on add unimplemented methods, and it will override the on click element here. Okay, with the view. So what I do with this on click view, I'll create a new intent, like I said. So here's the thing: is when the button on click is clicked, something's going to happen. Now, what's going to happen? Okay, so when I click something, what's going to happen is I'm going to create an intent. Okay, which is going to be a new intent, and it's going to be an intent or an arrow that's going to link this window, so to this activity, to screens activity this, and I'm going to link it to another activity. Okay, so the activity that's going to rule my yearbook layout, okay, which I don't have yet. So we're going to hold off here, and we're going to create an, or we can put, yeah, let's put that activity. What do we want to call that activity? We're going to call it yearbook activity. Yearbook activity.class. Okay, now yearbook activity does not exist yet, so I'm going to go create it. I'll click on the two screens over here in the package, right click, new class, okay, and this is going to be yearbook activity. The superclass is the Android activity class, okay, and inherit abstract methods, and this is all good. Finish. So now we have a yearbook activity, okay, and we have so then we have an intent from the two screens activity to the yearbook activity, okay, and then we're going to say start activities with the intent I. Okay, so we're going to start that activity. And why is it? Start activity then. Activity. There we go. It's just one activity with that intent. Okay, and that's what we're going to do on this listener. Now we need to attach this listener to the button. This is equivalent in iOS to when you control click and create an action. Actually, that control click that actually attaches the action to the button. So we do this in the code. In the onCreate method, we type in yearbook button dot set onClick listener, okay, and then we say new YB listener, and this Y should be capital because it's the class. Okay, so new YB listener. We've attached this guy to the onClick listener. Okay. So now we have a window that will call the yearbook activity. Now, calling the yearbook activity basically calls a class. This yearbook activity class doesn't know anything about the layout, this layout that it has to open. So let's go to the yearbook activity class and actually implement that method. So we right click, we click here. I'm not going to do it the right click. So, and we do override, oops, with a capital O, override. This is going to help us find out the method name. You can omit the word override, it'll still work. So, public, what is the uncreate method signature? Void, okay. Public, sorry, I just went back to double check. Void uncreate on create, and I believe this takes a bundle B, perhaps. I'm just going to copy it from 2 screens. This is usually what this is. I'm copying this over here. Okay, so and then the layout that I'm going to associate to this is not main, right? It's going to be yearbook layout. Okay, so right now we have a main activity that's going to open the main layout, and with a button that's going to listen for a click. And when it's clicked, this listener is going to trigger, and it's actually going to create an intent. It's going to transition from this screen to the yearbook activity class. Okay, and it'll start that activity, which means the yearbook activity class is going to do everything that it does with memory saving and memory management, and then it's going to create, it's going to associate with the book yearbook layout, so it'll open that view, and we can test that how this is going to work. So right click, run as Android application, and we're going to see this at work. So okay, we need to save these things. So let's see, I want to see the console here. Oops, I want to see how this is going. Installation error, insufficient storage. Oh, come on, really? This is my Android simulator. Oops, no, I don't want that. Will this tell me what are my tasks here? I have 2 tasks. Let's go to the recipes app and close it. So this is very slow. However, believe me that this is how you would get it installed. Let me see if I can tell it to actually if I can tell it to run in that Android simulator. So 2 screens, and then what's the machine that target? Going to be automatic. That's fine. Android is going to launch 2 screens. Launch default activity, and then that's fine. Run. Okay, now it's trying to install it again, and it's failing because of insufficient storage. That's not true. It says please check the logcat output for more details. This sometimes is useful. So you can see 120K. This is sometimes used just so I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but we'll see. It's 1 entry. I'm not sure what that means. So console. Configurations again. Project target. Oh, so which AVD? So I'm going to go with the test device, which is the one that I have opened. Let's run it like that. Let's see. Okay, insufficient storage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch it in a different device. Okay. I'm going to open this device. I'm going to turn it off. Turn it off my test device, and then get rid of it. And I'm going to launch this in a different configuration. I will make the video shorter so you'll see that it pops up pretty fast, but that's not going to be the case in your Eclipse. This starting a new Android virtual machine takes a while. Okay, I'm going to try to shut down a device while starting another one. Let's see how that goes. In the meantime, what I can tell you is that what we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to go and set up the date picker, so when you pick a date, it actually updates the browser underneath it. Let's do that. So this is all in the yearbook activity. Okay. Subjects, okay, is a web view. Yes, web view WV. It's fine. And then the date picker, I need to control space it so to tell it which class it is. We always do this in Eclipse. It's really a good help actually. All right, so we've created this date picker. Now we need to establish those links, right? So here we're going to say, oh, it's not SP, it's DP, right? Date picker. So date picker is going to be date picker. I'm casting because I'm going to use the find view by ID method, and that returns a view, and I need to cast it to whatever subclass of view I'm using. In this case, a date picker, right? So find view by ID, and then the IDs r.id. and then date picker 1. That's good. And then the web view is going to be web view find view by ID, and then it's going to be r.id.webview1, right? So now we have these things. Now the date picker has an on-date change listener. So we're going to create an on-date change listener. Okay. So this using the same method we use for creating the click listener. So private class date changed listener implements on date change listener. Okay. Now I'm gonna override the default method here, add an implemented methods. So I just click on add an implemented methods, and it says on date change, and then they pick a view, year, month of the year, type of month. So we have that listener here. What I'm going to do is whenever the date changes, okay, it's going to give me the date picker. It's going to give me the year, the month of the year, and the day of the month that it changed to. So what I need is a URL that I'm going to open. Okay, a URL that deals with this year, month, and day of the month. And I know from just browsing, if you go to your web browser and go to Wikipedia, the wiki URL is actually http://enwikipedia.org/wiki/ and then the date, for example, April 15, something like that. Okay, that's how these dates are constructed. But I don't know beforehand which month and which date. The month needs a name, and the date is a number on that URL. So to make the month a name, we can just do this: string months, January, February, March, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay. Did I miss a month? Sure. After March, going to June is kind of abrupt, so we'll go April, May. All right. So I just created the array. I tried to use the resources, but got a little out of hand, so I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to do it like this. So the month, string month, it's going to be month of year -1, right? I mean, again, it's generally the first element of is number 1, but then in the array is element 0. So once it's going to be that. And then the day of month is just the day of month. So the other thing that I need to do is to the web view dot load URL. So this is a much easier way of loading that, say for example iOS, but wiki URL plus, because now I'm going to concatenate things, month plus underscore plus day of month. Okay, and that should load the URL. We're going to see that it's not that straightforward because the Wikipedia, I'm not loading the mobile page, the mobile version, but I'm loading the full version, and this browser doesn't support full version, like the full width of the applications, unless you tell it. So this guy, web view get settings, not set. Get settings, set. Okay. So to recap, two screens activity. You first create one screen, and then you create however many outlets for the other windows. So here I created a connection between a button, okay, a button in my class to a button in my layout here. Okay. Then I added an on-click listener that I created for this button. The on-click listener creates an intent, which is like an arrow that points from wherever you attach that listener to, in this case from the button, to the activity that I want to open or pass a message to. And then I'll just start that activity. This happens when I click on a button. This will happen, I mean, at some point. But then because I say set on-click listener, that inner class, then it's gonna. These things here are gonna take place when the button is clicked. When it opens the new activity, which is the yearbook activity, you'll see that the yearbook activity, it creates links to two of the elements in the actual layout, and it sets the content view to the screen of the yearbook, right? So when we start this activity, that yearbook screen is going to open up, okay? And then the other thing that we need to implement is the date change listener, okay, in order to be able to put it on this DP, and this date picker that we found. And then I'm going to say datepicker.init, okay, and we can get a default. So 2012, month of year, you know, today, or 4, whatever, day of month 4, day of month 15, on date changed listener, on date changed listener. So that's going to be my new date changed listener. Okay. So this is how I attach the on date changed listener to the date picker. So then that'll work, and that'll actually load the web page. I'm just going to stop here. I'm sorry. I've built all this. The last step that I need to do, actually I should have done this from the beginning, is that there's my Android manifest file. I'm closing project. My Android manifest file of this project, which is here. I need to add the yearbook activity screen that I actually created. I need to declare every activity in there. Okay. So in the Android manifest file, if I go to application, I can do this visually, or I can do this via the XML. So in the application here, I can add an activity. Okay, so it's going to be an activity. So I'm creating an activity. There it is, an activity. And the name, it's going to be the activity. Well, I know the name of this. I'm not going to let it search, but the name of this has to start with the period, with the dot, and then it's going to be yearbook activity. Okay? And I'll save this. If I go to my Android manifest, just to make sure, I have one activity here, which is the two screens activity, and I have another activity here, which is the yearbook activity. Okay? And I could probably want to, I might want to add a label here just to get it a name, you know, but it doesn't really matter. It's fine. All right, now I'm going to launch this application on an emulator that I believe it's now working. Okay, so it's installing the ToStrings APK, and you'll notice some cuts in this video because it's heavily edited because of sometimes my Eclipse installation not working very well, and that's an artifact of my computer and my computer alone. So you should not experience these things. So let's see, starting the intent. Let's go to my emulator and see what's going on there. This is the new app that's been started. Let's see. So if I click yearbook, that should take me to my yearbook. Oh, I created a date picker that it's a little too small. So, and my web page is not available. But at least you see that there's a browser and there's an HTTP that should go here, June 15, right? So I did select June. Let's fix this layout really quickly. Let's go to here. I'm going to just get out of this application, and then in here, the yearbook layout, I will fix this by minimizing this guy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the web view over there. Come on. Oh yeah, I cannot go. This is a linear layout, so the web view, if I make it smaller, it's still going to force it up. I could have used a relative layout, and then that way I can position the web view wherever I want. But I want to make this guy bigger. Okay, like that. That's fine. All right, save it. ToScreens, run it, and then we're going to see what's going on. Let's look at the console. It's installing the APK, and finally, it's starting that activity. So we'll see it start over here, there. So we click in yearbook, and there's a date picker. Okay, so we can select this. So, whoops, that doesn't do anything. Okay, so here, for example, oh, I broke it somehow. But here we go to the yearbook, and that'll open the new activity, and then we can change to May 14th, for example, right? And then, oops, do I have something with my, April? Oh, I have something with my indices here. March, you see, that's February. So I have something with my indices. Perhaps January is month 0. And if it's, well, the year doesn't matter because this goes only with the date. But that's basically it. We can fix the problem with the month, which if I say month of the year, well, let's perhaps it's 0 based. Okay, so there's one more thing that we need to do. We have our program, we have our views, we added them to our manifest file. But then the other thing is that this doesn't go to the internet, right? And that's a problem. And the reason for that is because we have not allowed our device, our application, to connect to the internet. Every time a device wants to do something, you have to let it do it. You cannot do, your program cannot just use resources on a device. The device needs to authorize it, and the user, when he or she installs the application, will see all the permissions that the application needs. We specify those in our Android manifest.xml. So after this manifest tag over here, the next thing you do, make sure that you have this line. Uses permission Android name android.permission.internet. That will let us go to the internet and actually load the web page. Just so you, so we'll play this and we'll notice something interesting happening with our application. So let's run this, and I'm going to go to our phone simulator. See when the activity starts. here it is. So we go to the yearbook, and we're going to select, for example, I don't know, April 15th, I guess that was. That was quick. And then this opened a new browser window. And look at the URL, en.m.wikipedia.org. It opened the mobile version of Wikipedia. Okay, and then of course it gave me, everything that happened. I can scroll down. It gave me everything that happens, events, births, etc. on the given date. So the only problem though with this is that it ended up being March 7th. The only problem is that it's not opening in my little window, and that kind of sucks. So the problem is that whenever a web page, you click on a link on a web page, if it opens on, so for example, if a web page opened in this white area over here, okay, if I click on a link, that link is going to go to the regular web browser. Now what happens is that in my application, if I open the yearbook activity, I'll see that I was going to http://en.wikipedia.org, and at some point that redirect to en.m.wikipedia.org. Any redirect works just as a link. It'll open up in the big browser window. What I need to fix that issue, and this is the important thing, what I need to fix that issue is actually I need to create a web client to which I tell it not to load pages outside of my web browser. Okay, and for that I have to create a web client. Okay, to create a web client, I'm going to subclass the web client class. So I'm going to create here an inner class here, private class. Okay, it's private class my web client extends web client. Actually should extend web view client. Web view client. Okay. This is the basic one. You can extend the web Chrome, but let's go with the basic one. Web view client. And then we're going to implement one of the methods. We're going to override a method called should override URL loading. Okay. And what happens is I just pasted this, but what happens is that we're gonna load the URL in our view, in our web view, and then we'll return true. That's all you do. And then what you need to do, the next thing you need to do is attach this web client to our WV, our web view. Okay, so here what we can do here is what we do is after we get the web view, we're going to attach the client. So web view set web view client, and then that is the class that we just created. Okay. Okay, so we attach it like that. Now we're going to run this project. So we click on the yearbook. We go to May 14th, for example. And it's loaded now in our web browser. And whenever we click on this web browser, it's going to stay there. So if we go to, for example, there's events here. Okay? That concludes our demo. Bye.